The Galactic Combat Academy's training hall fell silent as Instructor Velthor, a towering Kryn warrior with 4 arms and battle scars crossing his chitinous face, surveyed the diverse class of cadets. Humans, Zenthari, Kolgons, and a dozen other species stood at attention in the massive arena. "Today's exercise is simple," Velthor announced, his translator rendering his clicks into standard. "Survival scenario. You will face combat drones programmed to eliminate targets. When I give the signal, grab anything around you to defend yourself. You have 30 seconds before the drones activate." Marcus exchanged a glance with Isabella across the training floor. They were the only 2 humans in this advanced combat class, having transferred from Earth's military academy just 3 cycles ago. The other species had already begun eyeing the scattered equipment around the arena: shock batons, energy shields, plasma cutters left from maintenance work. "Begin!" Velthor's voice boomed. What happened next would become legend in the Academy's halls. While the Zenthari cadets dove for the obvious weapons and the Kolgons formed defensive positions with training shields, Marcus and Isabella moved with purpose that seemed chaotic to everyone watching. Marcus sprinted to a maintenance cart, his hands moving in a blur. Isabella ran to a stack of spare parts near the arena wall. 15 seconds, Velthor called out. The Kryn instructor watched with mild interest as most cadets had secured standard defensive equipment. Then his 4 eyes widened as he focused on the humans. Marcus had torn the power cell from a cleaning drone and was jamming it into a length of metal piping. Isabella had grabbed a gravity regulator from a broken training platform, wrapping it with cables she'd ripped from a nearby control panel. They moved toward each other, and Velthor noticed something unsettling. They hadn't spoken a single word, yet they worked in perfect synchronization. 10 seconds! Isabella tossed Marcus a handful of ball bearings from a maintenance kit. He caught them without looking, dumping them into the pipe, along with some kind of chemical propellant he'd squeezed from a cleaning supply. Meanwhile, Isabella had fashioned what looked like a makeshift electromagnetic pulse device from the gravity regulator and a repurposed comm unit. The other cadets were now watching the humans instead of preparing themselves. 5 seconds. Marcus twisted 2 wires together on his pipe device. It hummed ominously. Isabella activated her contraption, and a sphere of unstable energy flickered to life in her palm. Then she grabbed a piece of reflective metal plating and strapped it to her forearm as a shield. But they weren't done. In the final 3 seconds, Marcus grabbed a fire extinguisher and wedged it into his belt. Isabella snatched a handful of chemical markers used for arena floor markings. Marcus ripped the anti-grav stabilizers from 2 hover carts and clipped them to his boots. Isabella broke open a first aid kit and wrapped a medical cold compress around her non-dominant hand like a temperature weapon. "Time!" Velthor roared. The combat drones descended from the ceiling, sleek, fast, armed with stun pulse cannons. The exercise was meant to last 5 minutes, testing the cadets' ability to defend with improvised equipment. It lasted 47 seconds. Marcus aimed his jury-rigged pipe weapon, what the humans called a railgun, and fired. The electromagnetic pulse from the power cell sent ball bearings screaming through the air at hypersonic velocity. 3 drones exploded in mid-flight. The other cadets ducked from the shrapnel. Isabella threw her chemical markers at the ground near approaching drones. When Marcus hit them with the fire extinguisher spray, a blinding fog erupted across half the arena. The drone's sensors went haywire. She activated her makeshift EMP device and fried the circuits of 2 more drones in the chaos. Marcus engaged his bootleg anti-grav stabilizers and launched himself upward in a move no ground-based combat instructor expected. He fired his remaining railgun ammunition from above, picking off drones that were trying to reposition. When the weapon ran dry, he simply dropped it and pulled the fire extinguisher, spraying freezing foam onto a drone's sensors before kicking it into another. Isabella used her reflective shield to bounce a drone's own stun pulse back at it, then threw the cold compress pack at another. On impact, the super-cooled chemical reaction froze the drone's joints solid. By the time the fog cleared, all 15 combat drones lay in various states of destruction across the arena floor. Marcus landed back on solid ground, his anti-grav stabilizers smoking. Isabella stood beside a pile of destroyed drone parts, her EMP device sparking its last as she dropped it. The other cadets stared in stunned silence. Velthor approached the two humans slowly, his translator clicking in confusion. "Explain," he demanded. "Explain what you just did. That was not standard defensive protocol. Those were not weapons. Those were trash." Marcus shrugged, breathing hard. "You said grab anything to defend ourselves, sir. But you—" Velthor gestured at the destroyed drones, then at the scattered improvised weapons. "You constructed multiple offensive systems from maintenance equipment in 30 seconds, without communication." Isabella wiped sweat from her forehead. "We're humans, sir. Improvisation is kind of our thing. Back on Earth, we've been building weapons out of whatever we could find since we discovered rocks could be thrown." "But the coordination," a Zenthari cadet interjected. "You never spoke. How did you know what the other would build?" Marcus and Isabella exchanged another look, this one containing a slight smile. "We didn't need to, sir," Marcus explained. "When you're a species that evolved surviving everything from predators to ice ages to each other, you develop an instinct for weaponizing your environment. We saw the same opportunities and acted on them." Velthor's translator was silent for a long moment as the Kryn instructor processed this information. Finally he spoke, and there was something new in his tone. Not quite respect, but perhaps understanding. "I have trained warriors from 47 species across 3,000 cycles," Velthor said slowly. "Never have I seen anything like that. The other species see tools, weapons, equipment." He gestured at the humans. "Humans see potential." Isabella grinned. "Sir, if you think that's impressive, you should see what we can do with an actual workshop in 5 minutes. Velthor's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been concern. "I think," he said carefully, "that will not be necessary. Class dismissed. Humans remain behind. We need to discuss updating the Academy's safety protocols." As the other cadets filed out, whispering about the crazy humans, Marcus turned to Isabella. "Think we overdid it?" he asked quietly. She surveyed the destroyed drones and improvised weapons scattered across the arena. "Nah." "He said grab anything." Marcus nodded. "Fair point." Behind them, Instructor Velthor was already composing a report to the Academy Commandant. Subject line: "Regarding human cadets and why grab anything may require species-specific clarification.